Hello, my name is Giselle and this is my week 2 sketchbook tour. So the assignment for this was to create 12 individual fruits. The materials that I used were the tortillas, the mechanical eraser, the kneaded eraser, the 1H, the 2H, the 2B, the 6B, and the 12B. The 12B was the most that I used out of all of them, and that worked for me. So the first fruit that I created was apple. The apple, I struggled a lot with the shadowing, and I actually got the professor to help me with it. But I feel like I just made it way too dark, but he definitely helped me out with the shadowing right here. And I feel like it turned out good, but I feel like the shadow is a bit too dark and it takes away from the attention of the apple. But I'm happy with how it turned out because of how the lines look. I feel like that looks good. The next fruit that I did was the cherries. The cherries was probably the one that I'm least happy with, just because I feel like I struggled a lot with the shadowing. I was erasing it, but didn't know how to really do it. And then just the shadowing and the shape, I struggled with that. The stem wasn't too bad. I feel like that turned out good, but yeah, just the shape and the shadowing was hard for me on the cherry. The other fruit that I did was a pear. The pear was actually the one I was most happiest with because I feel like it looks pretty realistic. I feel like the shadow looks good. I feel like it's really close to the picture that I used. And yeah, in the shadow I tried to do it a bit more light so it looks more realistic and not as harsh as the apple. The next one that I did were the grapes. Now the grapes, the picture was pretty dark, so I tried to make it pretty dark, but I feel like I might have made it too dark. And you can pretty much see that. And then I don't really like how the shading came out, but I think what I did do good on was just the lighting and where that hit on this side. And then the next fruit that I did was banana. Now the banana was also one that I'm happy with, just because it wasn't too hard. And then I did struggle in a few parts, just making like the bruising a bit and just like the little details was a bit tedious, but I feel like I figured that out, just blending it out and like repeating it. And then the shadowing, again, I tried to do it a bit more light, not as harsh, and I feel like I'm happy with how it turned out. The next fruit that I did was the avocado. The avocado, I definitely struggled with this part, just making the shape of it, but also with how the peel looks. And then again, I'm happy with how the shading turned out. I feel like it looks much more better, less harsh than the other ones. And I thought the seed came out pretty good, just how the light hit. And then this is the pumpkin. The pumpkin, I feel like I could have done just the shading, the shadow a bit better, but I'm happy with how it turned out overall. I feel like can't really see on camera, but you could definitely see where the light hits on this side and on this side. Next fruit that I did was a lemon, and this one I tried to make the shadow from darkest to lightest. I think I like how that turned out. And then right here you can see the shadow, just the light hits, and then here I created a line and just blended that out so you can really see the shape of the lemon. The next fruit I did was the kiwi. The kiwi wasn't too bad, just creating like the hair and the texture of the kiwi I struggled with. And then I tried to make it dark right here, but I think I might have made it a bit too dark. But overall, I'm happy with how it turned out. And then the next fruit that I did was an orange. The orange, again, similar to how I did the lemon, I did a few dots so you could see a bit of the texture and just blended out these lines. I definitely feel like I could have done better on the lines. I could have made them look a bit more realistic, but I really didn't know how to do that. And yeah, the shadow, I tried to make it again dark, but and a bit more light over here. And then the next fruit that I did were the strawberries. Now the strawberries were really tedious, just creating the seeds and having to figure out the lighting was definitely hard on that. And I definitely struggled with the leaves, but overall it wasn't too bad. And I actually quite enjoyed trying this one. And making this side was quite fun as well. And then the next fruit that I did was a pomegranate. The pomegranate wasn't too bad. I definitely struggled on the shadowing of the little pieces. pomegranate. But here you can see the lines and the texture that I did. I think that turned out pretty good. That is basically the end of my sketchbook tour. Thank you.